Okay, guys. So every week before the main card, I'm going to do the martial arts story of the week. And these are going to be true stories, all from either my personal experience or somebody close to me that I know that's told me the story. So those will be cool, and you can look forward to those every week, and they're all true stories. So before that, this is my first week of the show, so I'm giving a shout out to my producer. The computer I'm using to produce these shows is from him. My ability to operate it is because of him. And, my internet's shit. I live in the middle of the woods on a dead end road. And, I'm getting this all to him, and he's going to bring it all to the world for us. So let's just give a big thanks. He's going to edit, whatever needs to happen in there. Give you some visual shit. And he's all doing that for free. So me and my producer, I've been working with him for 3 years on betting. I've been sending him my bets every week. Every week I have them, and I usually have bets every week. But I send him the bets for 3 years, and we've been on an uphill train. Let's put it that way. An escalator. And because of that, I decided to start this show. And I'm not a fan of the stock market. Don't like them. Want to beat them. These dudes that start these odds, they don't know shit. So let's break it down, and they've never done martial arts. They're in some room with a couple other dudes in some office chairs eating fucking Cheetos. So I'm really not too worried about it. And in order to get some flow to my producer, I'm going to start a Patreon, and all those bets that I send him every week for free, from all the research I do and my knowledge of martial arts and my history and my notes. And he'll just take my bets that I've been sending him, and he'll give them to you guys, and he'll put them on the Patreon. And you can do what he does. He picks and chooses what bets he wants to make out of that. I give him a percentage of how much I feel for each of them. Me and my producer are pretty tight, so it's regular shit for us. But he'll put them on there for you. Whatever I give him, he'll put it on there for you. You guys can pick and choose my bets then that we've been making money at for 3 years. So we don't want the bookies to win. We want to win, and we really want to show them what's up when it's up. And with that in mind, don't be hopping on there if you're trying to buy groceries for your family and shit, dude. The Patreon is for long-term setup, and it's for long-term bettors that are on here with extra money to play the game and, extract money out of the bookies' pockets and, give them less Cheetos. Maybe they're going to have to cut back a little bit, So with all that in mind, the draw of the week this week is going to be Hakeem Dawodu and Julian Arosa. And for the favorite of the week this week is going to be Jilton Almeida. Alright guys, what's going on? I'm going to break down UFC 279 here for you. We got our first fight of the night, Darian Weeks versus Johan Lainez. This is going to be a good scrap. Darian's beast, likes to fight. Johan, he likes to fight. He's a beast. He comes really hard in the first round. Johan's got a good reach, decent scramble. He puts a lot on his punches. They're nice straight punches mostly. He's a Dana White Contender Series winner. He was undefeated until his last fight, which he was doing good in. He had 2 knockdowns versus Gabe Green. Put him on the canvas. But he's fighting, like I said, Darian Weeks, who fought Ian Gary, another tall guy like Johan. Darian did pretty good against him. Kind of got worked, but he was pushing on Ian Gary the whole time. Took some shots. Pressured him pretty good. He's got some decent kicks. And Darian's also got that wrestling background, so we're not sure if we're going to see that or not. He's done some amateur boxing, but He's kind of plotty on his feet, and they got shorter limbs, and Johan's, longer and moves around more, but they both got good scrambles. Mainly the first round is going to be a great fight, and second round we know we're going to see Johan slow down because of his cardio, so that's really going to be it. After first round and a half, we're looking at Darian for sure, by decision or finish, but until then it's going to be an epic battle. Yeah, next fight we got Elise Reed versus Melissa Martinez. And for this one, we're going to go with Melissa Martinez. Alright, guys. Next fight, we got Chad Anheliger versus Haley Alatang. We've all seen Alatang. He's a beast in there. Also known as the Mongolian Knight. Fighting out of Inner Mongolia, China. He's got a super thick upper body. He's got some nice fakes. He wants to get into the pocket and scrap. He's super calm before his fights. He looks forward to getting in there and putting on a performance. He's probably been doing it since he was 3 years old in China. He's initially a wrestler. He's like top 5 wrestlers in China previously. And to stop Haley, you got to kill the guy. So you really got to put a beating on him. Casey Kenny put a beating on him, especially on his body. And I mean, it looked like he had colored paint all over his ribs. It was terrible. But against Anheliger, he's 35 years old, coming from Canada, where, he wasn't fighting at 3 years old. And he's probably fishing and hunting. He's got some decent jiu-jitsu defensively. He's kind of scrappy, but, I just don't think there's going to be anything that he can do to put away the Mongolian Knight. And I don't think there's going to be a punch he can throw that's hard enough to put him down either. So, with the wrestling background of Haley and Chad being put on his back by Jesse Strader right away and things like that, we're just not going to see much of a fight here. So I think Haley's going to put a beat down on him, and that's going to be the end of it. Next fight, we got Norma Dumont versus Danielle Wolf. And we're going to go with Danielle Wolf. Alright, guys. Next fight of the night, we got Jake Collier versus Chris Barnett. First thing we want to note is that Jake Collier, his original given name to him was Rodney Collier. So we'll see if that comes into play anywhere in this fight or not. But Jake, or Rodney Collier's got a wrestling background. He's got decent boxing moves. He's pretty aggressive. He pushes forward, kind of walks into punches just to get close until he can finally get the takedown. He's got like a high guard, jabs, decent boxing moves, but he's not all that great. He just throws big overhands mainly, but dives his head down. So against Chris Barnett, he's shorter and got that spinning heel kick over Fat Gene Vellante. And, the way Jake dives his head down like that, Chris could probably throw one of them in the first 30 seconds and maybe smash Jake's face and knock him out. But if not, I'd say Jake's just going to take him down after that 30 seconds or a minute and be laying on each other. And it'll be Twinkie on Twinkie. So I don't know what to say about that other than, Jake pressures Chris. Chris just lets himself get up against the fence and get put there, get put on his back. He needs space to work his dance moves. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about this one. Be some action in the first round for sure. Alright, guys. Next fight, we got Jamie Pickett versus Dennis Tululin. And this should be a good fight. We know Jamie Pickett's got the wrestling style background. Tululin's got a kickboxing background. We seen Tululin in there last time against the Black Wolf, who will be a rising star here soon. And Pickett, we seen him in there with Dawkins last time around. Dawkins choked him out. Pickett His wrestling's okay. His striking is not good. And against Jordan Wright, we've seen him just try to take down Jordan Wright with all his might in the first round, and Wright just elbowed him in the side of the head until Pickett fell over. And then the fight was over. So, I mean, Tululin's got great striking, and he's got decent takedown defense. We've seen him, like I said, in his last fight, get choked out, but he put up a good fight, and until that time. And Pickett's wrestling is going to be nothing like the Black Wolves. So they're both 34 years old, and Tululin's striking is just on such a better level than Pickett's. I think they're kind of putting him in there so that we're going to see Tululin light up Pickett and raise Tululin's name up again a little bit. And the way Tululin punches, they're very powerful. They're straight. And he kind of leans into him with his body weight too when he gets his punches straight, so that just puts a bunch of extra momentum on each one of his punches. And I think we're going to see Pickett fall to one of those because Tululin's a killer be killed guy, and Pickett's not much of a killer in there. And Tululin embraces the octagon, likes to be in there, and he's ready to take shots and give shots when he gets in there and go for it. And I think he's just going to put it on Pickett and for sure take him out and build up his name a little more and keep going in the division. All right, guys, late bloomer here. Jailton Almeida versus Anton Turkov-Jakov. So anyway, Jailton's got serious BJJ game. Comes out with that front kick right away in all three of his UFC fights so far. He's got a sick blast double right after that. And we've seen him against Nasruddin, Sambo champ. He's got good kinetics and heavy front low kick, good body lock, good wrist control, and he's excited to fight when he gets in there. He's actually from Brazil and embraces the match. On the other half, I mean, Anton, we've seen him in the Contender Series there not too long ago. He's a little bit younger at 26. He's got somehow rear naked chokes and triangle chokes, a Darce on his record, and supposedly a good grappler. Stands up really straight. Got hit with like every single punch that who was that he fought in the Contender Series. It was Caio dos Santos, but it doesn't matter. He's not very good. Doesn't have very good punches. He's not very strong. He's not heavy on top. He doesn't have bad intentions to go in there and finish the fight. He had a stalemate the whole first round. He just gave that guy a bear hug in the Contender Series. I don't know how he even ended up in the UFC, but it was mainly the most boring fight I've seen in a long time. And when the match was over, he was almost on his back and almost losing, and then he put his arm up. He did win the match, I mean, with control, but he's an amateur, and compared to Jailton, Almeida's going to, for sure, come out on top on this one. I'm sure the odds are going to represent that, but I think it was like minus 800. Whatever. One of my best friends, and my best friend in particular, and he was going to work or coming home from work on this bus, and there was some other guy that happened to be just talking shit about some girl on the bus, and something about her hair, something other that was very trivial. Anyway, the guy was saying that loud enough for people to hear on the bus. I don't think the girl in particular could hear, from what my buddy told me, but I remember this guy saying something and, loud enough for people to hear. Anyway, my buddy ended up saying to this guy, being the guy that spoke up and said, "Hey man, leave her alone. She's just a girl, like, knock it off." Probably almost, word for word. And, this guy shut up, didn't say anything. He was done. And my buddy that said this, my best friend in particular, he's not even a big guy at all, man. He's not intimidating at all. And it just goes to show you how weak-minded this guy was and how weak he was in general. Now, little did he know my buddy actually does have a martial arts background, and but that's not why my buddy said something. Nothing had to do with anything except for my buddy was just saying what was right and what needed to be said to keep cancerous people from growing, keep the cancer from growing. You got to cut it out early. So anyway, just so happens to be sitting next to my buddy that day was somebody he knows from the bus. Just his name was Clint, and Clint is actually trains MMA. He's a fighter. He's like cauliflower ears. My buddy said, grew up as a wrestler. Had his nose broken many times. My buddy said he's just a fighter, But so Clint, after this happened, says to my buddy, "Hey man, like, damn, holy shit, I wasn't gonna say anything, But in reality, it takes different kind of people to shut down different kind of situations. Now, if this guy would have, got up and immediately headed over to my buddy to get in his face, like, "Oh yeah, what are you gonna?" You could see that's where Clint, as a martial arts background, that's where his voice opens up, and he opens up his voice physically. That people are different, and it takes all of us to stand together to make a situation better. So you can see where Clint would have stepped right in, and probably took that guy down instantly, and either choked him out or put him on a restraint before my buddy would even had to stand up. But it was just a cool story about a bus, and on that bus there was some public defenders, good people, and they were both ready to defend somebody else. So there you go. All right, guys. Next fight we got Johnny Walker versus Ion Cutelaba. Cutelaba, we all know both these guys, but Cutelaba, also known as the Hulk, pretty much goes full Hulk mode when he gets in there, from weigh-ins till the fight starts, which is pretty cool. It's actually slightly entertaining, and Walker, he's slightly entertaining before fights also. So I think 50% of this fight is just going to be the preemptive stuff to the fight. And I think the rest is going to probably happen in the first round. And I guess if it doesn't happen in the first round, it'll be Cutelaba trying to wrestle his way to a decision. But, Cutelaba, he likes using that wrestling, but he also has just huge punches, does some barrages, just trying to take people's heads off, but doesn't really move his own head. And, but eventually he kind of fades out and gets picked away by good strikers. But Walker, on the other hand, he's got flying knees, huge strikes, fast starter. We've seen him recently slow down and have a sparring match with the Hammer. And I remember Johnny Walker was coming up, and he wiped out a couple dudes in the first round with some big strikes. And he's coming from Brazil, and you're thinking, oh man, is this like the second Anderson Silva? We just haven't heard about him. Like, what's going on here? And I've actually seen him in a couple of old fights in Brazil. I'd never seen him fighting in any of them, but he was like a corner man for those sand pit fights they had down there, and they were like sanctioned fights, I guess, down there. But and he was always in a corner out there. You could recognize his face. He didn't always have a mohawk, but so he's been around. And anyway, I remember being with my brother at Applebee's, and don't even remember who he was fighting. It didn't matter. He's asked me if we should bet on him, and I said, oh yeah, for sure. I think he put $40 or $50 on him. Then somehow first time he ends up losing is that was the day. So anyway, it turns out he wasn't he wasn't the next Anderson Silva, and he lost. So this is going to be I guess, a good fight. And let's hope this first round's exciting for everybody because the pre-fight is for sure going to be exciting. And next fight we got Irene Aldana versus Macy Chasen. And we're going to go with Irene Aldana. Alright, guys. Next up, we got Kevin Holland against Daniel Rodriguez. And the Trailblazer, Kevin Holland. First thing I think of is his fight with Jeff Neal back in the day. I remember watching that a couple years ago, and he was kind of like picking apart Neal. It was a smaller cage, too, whatever promotion that was in. And he was still picking apart Neal, kind of gassed Neal out, really. Neal's a lot better now. He looks better with his cardio, too. But Holland won that fight by picking him apart and with his striking, really. And now Holland's striking's better now, also. So I feel like Rodriguez is kind of the same as Jeff Neal in that way, where he's just kind of a striker, doesn't have a ground game, but good takedown defense. And I feel like Rodriguez striking, could put it on Holland. But Holland also could keep his distance with his kicks and his strikes, even though they're not super powerful. Unless they get into an exchange, I could see Rodriguez maybe cleaning up Kevin, or if Kevin lands, some sort of a kick, I guess. But if it does go to the ground for some reason, Holland's got his jiu-jitsu background, and, Rodriguez can hopefully just get up and go right back to his boxing. So it's a tough fight to call, actually, but it should be a good fight. Rodriguez takes shit pretty serious. He wants to win, and he's trying to actually work his way, up the division. And Holland is too, but he just likes being exciting too. So we should at least see a fight here, and it should be rather enjoyable to watch at a minimum. Yeah, all right, guys. We got Li Jiling versus Tony Ferguson for the next one. Man, interesting fight, I guess. Tony's going up. Gonna fight at welterweight for this one. Lee's coming off that win, that right cross. Man, we know Lee's got that stand-up boxing, kickboxing background. Ferguson's got his 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu black belt. We've seen Lee get finished by Chimaev, but, Chimaev is so strong. And Lee kind of put up a fight, but once he had his back taken by Chimaev, it was just too much for him there for the ground game. But, I think he's going to be thicker than Tony. He's going to be stronger than Tony. And I think his striking's going to be pretty good. I don't know if Tony's going to be able to put one on him that's going to be able to put Lee down permanently. And I think maybe Lee might be able to put one on Tony, or a few consecutive ones that might beat him up, I'm feeling like the Leech is going to come out on top on this one, but either way, it's actually going to be a really exciting first round. There's going to be probably a lot of stand-up action. And then if we do see some grappling, there's going to be some scrambles, and it should be a fun fight for us either way, and I guess that's what we're looking for with this one anyways. All right, guys, sick. Finally got it. The main event of the evening, Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. And we all know both of these guys. Khamzat still undefeated, coming up in the UFC. Just fought Gilbert Burns in an epic 3-round fucking battle. Diaz, on the other hand, just had it out with Leon, who just grabbed the strap off of Usman with an epic KO. And, all right, well, let's go Khamzat fighting Gilbert. After that fight, I seen an interview with Khamzat, and he was talking about when he went to the ground with Burns early, and Burns had trapped his wrist or grabbed his arm. And in the interview, Chimaev says, "Oh man, he grabbed my arm, and I was like, fuck, bro, give me my arm back. I didn't like that shit, so I said, fuck that, man. I stand up." And you seen that in the fight. He let up Gilbert the first time, and more than once in that fight, and kicked his calf, kicked his thigh a couple times, and then, I think it was Beltran in there, but let Gilbert back to his feet. And that's the opposite of what we've seen Chimaev do in his other fights. He's went straight for the takedown, and besides one punch in GM3, he's taken taken everybody down, and put them away. So it's interesting to see him just go to a stand-up battle with Burns because of Burns' jiu-jitsu. Burns is a 4-time BJJ champ, and he's been a coach and stuff for jiu-jitsu. So it's interesting to see Khamzat meet his match on the ground like that in one way or another. And Khamzat's a brown belt on the ground, and it's obviously a huge difference between Burns' black belt, whatever degree that is, between Chimaev's brown belt. And we know Diaz, Nate's been a black belt for a long time. And if you go on YouTube, you might still be able to find them. You used to be able to find the Gracie challenges, and in that it was like an old VHS camera with the tape. You had to take it out and put it in the VCR and shit, and got this thing on YouTube at some point. And in one of the fights you see on there, it's Nate Diaz with dyed blonde hair in his gi, and it's like the basement of their dojo in California, and it's the Gracie open door policy. So these other guys are coming in with, they didn't even say they're martial arts. I don't even know if there was sound, but it wasn't extreme quality. But it might have been like Nate's girlfriend there too for some reason, and of course I'm sure Nick was there. I'm not sure if we've seen Nick in one of the fights on that particular video, but so in this fight with Nate has with this other guy, and this guy is older, thicker, and a striker of some sort. Guy puts a few strikes on Nate. They end up getting close. Nate grapples him up. Nate ends up choking him out. So after Diaz has done this at 18 years old, down in the basement of this fucking place, what's his training center? He's comfortable there, but you don't know what's going to happen against this guy and whatever martial art he's bringing to the Gracies to show off and show him that he's going to win. Anyway, he's obviously not fearing Chimaev. There's a lot of talk out there about, the Wolf's just gonna eat up Diaz. Nate doesn't care. He's not scared of that. He's not scared of the talk or Chimaev. After that fight at 18, he's taking every fight like every other fight, and it doesn't matter who the guy is. It's just gonna be a fight. He's gonna have his normal fight nerves, and that's it. And that ain't shit for Diaz. So Chimaev's going to have to work for this win for sure. And it's going to be a fight, if you ask me, And Diaz has got a lot of scar tissue on there. But Chimaev's mainly a puncher. We haven't seen a lot of elbows, so maybe his face will hold up a little longer. And it'll get deep into the rounds. And maybe if Chimaev's getting lazy on top with some wrestling, we will see Diaz pull off a submission. We've seen what Nick did to Gomi back in the day. So, this is cool. This is going to be a sweet fight. And, man, this is going to be great for all of us to watch. All right, till next week, guys. Life before death. Strength before weakness. Journey before destination. Keep it real.